Hey everyone, this is David, your instructor. What we're going to do is do the business card project. So if you're on my home page, click to Semester Projects and go to Project 1. And what you'll see is the due date and everything like that. So keep track of that. And you're going to click on this here, but you're going to either right click or control click if you're on a Mac and do a Save As. And so we're going to save it to the desktop. Because what happens if you just click on this, look, it just opens up a blank web page. So just make sure to save that to your desktop. Now we're going to launch Photoshop and do a file open. You can see the business card and open it. I'd suggest really if you're going to work in Photoshop, open everything through Photoshop. Just don't double click it because it'll probably open up in a different application. So on this business card here, this is kind of your template. So what I usually do is I create a new layer, and that's this little button down here, and that'll give you a new layer, and you'll see it's transparent. So if I turn this off, it's just a bunch of transparent pixels. So on this layer you could make some shapes, you could play with your brush tool. Remember, this is to be done all in Photoshop. So you could play around with your different brushes. But what I'm going to show you is to use the vector shape tools on this one and the text tool. So if you click on your shape tool, which is this one here, and you hold it down, you'll see that you have all these different little options. So let's just go ahead and do the rectangle tool, and you see that you have a fill and a stroke for it. So if you click on this, it's going to let you use a bunch of these different colors here. You can click this little button and go to the color picker, and you can just hold down your mouse and go up and down and pick a color you might like. So I'll pick like a darker teal color and I hit OK. What's cool about the custom shape tool is you can click anywhere and just make a box. And this is a vector box, so you can make it any size you want, and you can drag it anywhere you want. Remember, you can go outside the boundaries here. If you wanted a business card and you want it to be solid blue, you just make this box as big as the business card. And to transform something, you hit Command or Control, depending on your Mac and PC, and the letter T on your keyboard. And that brings up this little box here. This is your free transform box, and you can make it any size you want. So you could have a solid blue background. You could come over here and say, no, I just want maybe a stripe there. Excuse me. So if that's what you want and you're happy with that, you can either hit the return button on your keyboard or enter, or this little checkbox. But it's not going to let you do anything until you get rid of this little handles around here, this little box around it. So I'm going to hit yes, and so now I've got this solid blue line. And I'll just hide that so I can kind of see what I'm doing. What's kind of cool too is once you have a rectangular box, if you use your move tool, which is this tool right up here, and it's your move tool and it's V on your keyboard, you can hold down your option key. I'm just holding it down, and I click and drag, and it gives me two of them. What I've done is I've copied what's in that layer to a new layer. So I can hold it down, click and drag again. I'm holding down the Alt Option key. So if you're on a PC, it's Alt. On a Mac, it's a PC. And I hold it down again. And let's try it one more time. So you can get these lines here. And what's kind of nice is once these are all, since these are all vector, you can hold your shift down. See, I'm in this top one here. I go to this one here and hold the shift down, and you can go up there and align it. These are your alignment controls for any shape layers. So you can go through, and usually it's trial and error. You try to find one that makes sense. You have horizontal center, so you can click on that. That's and you can kind of tell it's like here's a little box, here's a little box, and it's going to distribute. So now each one of these lines are distributed evenly. So I might want to think about what it looked like with a different colored background. So usually what I do is I make another new layer, and let's say I was going to fill this with a color. You could double click this little foreground over here. Actually, I only have to click it once. And what's kind of cool is you can go anywhere and you can sample color. Usually when I'm designing, I try to find colors that complement each other. So I might move down a little bit and find like maybe this dark green, or go to my color libraries and pick a color. You know, gray looks really good with a teal. Sorry guys. And I hit OK. So now I have this gray color here, and I can fill this entire layer. So if I go up to Edit and Fill, it's going to fill with the foreground color, which is this color right here. Now you'll see it has different options. You could fill it with black, a 50% gray, white, patterns, all sorts of kind of stuff, but I'm just going to stick with the foreground color, and I hit OK. But you see what happens? Everything disappeared. That's because it's on the topmost layer, so I can drag that down. I'm just holding down my mouse, dragging it down, and I put it behind everything. So you see that I have now these shapes and this solid background. I'm actually not a big fan of just filling an entire layer. I do like my shape tool. So what I would do, and it's just another option, is I'd grab my shape tool, and since I have this gray already picked out, I can just click and drag. And the reason I like to use the shape tool is if I were to fill that background, it's going to be filled with pixels, and so it's kind of harder to transform it and distort it because it'll sometimes get pixelized. But if I use that shape tool, then I'm good to go. Another reason I like to doing that is if I fill a transparent layer, it's harder to change the color. But if it's one of these vectors, all I do is double click, and look, I can change it, and it does a live change. I'm much more about working efficiently. So now I've got some shapes in here, and you can play around with all the different shapes. You can try the ellipse tool, the rounded rectangle tool. So if you want to create another box here with the information, you could. And since it's a vector, we just double click it and say, okay, maybe I'll choose a darker blue. There we go. And so I could come over and put text within this. So I grab my text tool. And what's cool about the text tool is once you click it, you can really click anywhere and type some text out. So, and it automatically creates a text layer for you. So, Dave. And it's huge. The reason is that it's defaulted at 42 point type. But that's okay, because I can always select it, and I can either click and change the point size, or if you hover over the two T's, you can hold your mouse down and go left or right. See? And make it smaller. Another way to do it is to view, go up to Window, and go to Character. You have Character and Paragraph. So we're working just with types. I'll bring up the character. And this gives you lots more options here. So it's the same thing. If you just hover over it, it turns into a little triangle. And say, okay, I can make it small, I can make it big. And you can play with some of these other settings. This is tracking and leading and kerning. We'll get into that later. And you can adjust it. This is center. Okay, you come over this and do left or right, depending on what you want to do. Should be familiar with these kind of icons from Word. And you can do some fun stuff here. So that's later on. So we have Dave. And this is a very ugly color. So if I double click it, just like most of these, I can change the color of the text. You can change it here or up here. So I'm just going to go with white. This is a good contrast. There we go. So I can do Dave Danforth. And see, when something like this happens, that usually means there's a default setup. And I can tell right here that this is leading. Now yours probably won't do this, but I mess around in Photoshop a lot, so I have to adjust this. And you can tell here's an A right here and an A above it. Leading is the space between two lines of text. And this is huge. So if I just click and do auto, it should take care of it. And you see it's all kind of bunched up too. So you can come over here, and if you just kind of hover over one of these, you can stretch it out and it should fit. And just adjust it so everything looks kind of good. And when you're done, you just hit return, and there you go. So you can put the rest of your text in. If you want to edit this text again, you can double click the T and it edits it. Or if you're on another layer, if you go over to the text tool, click it, click right next to it, it's going to activate it. And you do return, and my email is ddanforth@dccccd.edu. And again, it looks all bunched up, so I can still go up, select it all, come over to this little, has little 2 A's on it, this is your leading, and I can adjust it. See? Makes it pretty easy. And what I'm going to do here, since this is really big, so I might select that. Remember, you can select individual text and maybe turn down the point size on it. You don't want it too small or no one's going to be able to read it. And there we go. And once you've done it, you can move it around. See, it's kind of hidden. It's because you can see where the text is in relationship to the rectangles. So I'll do a part 2 to this where we'll look at some of the other shapes and we'll do some adding and subtracting of shapes.